Hey to all my Sanctuary sound crew, I have just some quick little updates that I want to send over here. This one is pretty simple. It involves the live stream. I know we've had some issues with volume lately, and hopefully there should be some really big updates that are happening here. We definitely have a big upgrade in terms of compression and creating louder volumes and things like that. But one thing I wanted to just mention is the difference between what Pro Tools is going to send as an output volume versus what you're going to actually see on the ATEM software. So first off, the Pro Tools and ATEM have two very different ways of understanding what appropriate volume is, and the ATEM software by default has an input limiter that prevents it from going above -15. So if you're looking over here at these meters on the streaming software, even if you crank the board and the stream and everything as loud as you can, you will see that it's never ever going to get above this -15 marker. So just understand that on the ATEM software, that's actually where your true limitation actually is, and you can't get any louder than that. Now, when it comes to the board and the streaming software, the board, the big place that we're gonna look for is here. So we're under the aux in placement, and we're looking in Pro Tools, and you're hoping that when you're seeing your DAW come up, that you're running pretty high on this schedule. You wanna be in the -6 reference just before where it starts to say clip. If you do happen to see it say clip, I promise it's not actually clipping, but most of the digital compression is going to happen inside of the stream over here. And there's lots of different ways to do this. Let me tell you what you can do, and let me tell you what you definitely should not do. So as far as what you can do, you want to adjust the section called the limiter. And the limiter is, for all intents and purposes, the maximum amount that you can possibly send coming out of here. If you scroll all the way from left to right in the stream, there is the master bus, is the very last thing that happens here at the end. And at the top of that, there is a single plugin that says L1 Ultra Maximizer Limiter. And this limiter is responsible for sending a healthy signal out to the board. Now, the out ceiling is set just below 0. I have it set to -0.3. And the threshold should be set here to -12. That's where I have it right now. Now you can set it to all sorts of different things. Understand that if I make this higher, it's going to make everything quieter. And if I start to take this lower and lower and lower, it's going to increase the signal that gets sent into the limiter. And eventually what you're gonna start to see is you're gonna start to see this meter crop up. And this meter is basically a wall telling you how much gain you've actually reduced from the signal here. You do not want to see a lot. At maximum, you want to be seeing -3. If you start seeing more than that, you're too hot. You're getting some flat wall limiting, which is going to sound really bad. Ideally, you're barely touching it at all. Ideally, you're only seeing like -1 ever hit there. And so you're just a little bit below that. So you can use this threshold to change it to whatever you feel like you need to get an appropriate volume, but just keep an eye on this meter on the right side, so that way you're not seeing huge astronomical numbers. You should see 1, 2, 3 at max, and if you start seeing more than that, you're too hot, back it off from the threshold. I will save a new template, so that way you guys are starting from a nice safe point. Other than that, I think that is about as good an update as any. Whatever you do not use the master fader here to start pushing the volume more, that is a bad idea. Always use the limiter plugin to increase volume like this. That's all I got. Let me know if you have any questions.